How many Epiphone guitar models can you name? No, I'm not talking about Les Pauls or SGs, I'm talking about real Epiphones. Epiphone is largely thought of as the maker of less expensive Gibson models, like Les Pauls and SGs and Firebirds. While they do that, and they do an excellent job at it, they also make their own unique models, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Hello and welcome. Thank you, friends, for joining me on this video. My name is Justin Waterfield. I work at the Toronto Long McQuade store. Make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you dig what we're doing here. It really helps us out. In today's video, we're going to be celebrating the 150th birthday of Epiphone as a company. It's been around that long, if you can believe it. Epiphone started out as a small family-run company called the House of Stathopolo in New York State in the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s. They built lutes and fiddles at the time. And the son of the founder, Epaminondas Stathopoulos, hope I'm saying that right, inherited the family business and started making banjos and mandolins after World War I. Believe it or not, these were the popular instruments at the time. Around about 1928, Epiphone started making those big jazz hollow body guitars and quickly became a leader in the field. In fact, they were so well regarded and so popular, they competed directly head to head with none other than Gibson. They ended up in a bit of an arms race in terms of the development of features and innovations to try to outsell one another. Sadly, in the 1940s, Epaminondas ended up passing away, and the economic downturn caused by World War II kind of put Epiphone into a bit of a slump. It wasn't until 1957 that Gibson came along and bought Epiphone. Production moved to Kalamazoo, Michigan. Yes, that same Kalamazoo, Michigan that manufactured Gibsons. In fact, Gibsons and Epiphones were manufactured on the same production line for quite a while, and the Epiphones of the day were very much parallels to what Gibson was making with their own name on the headstock. What Gibson did, though, wisely, was reissue a lot of the popular Epiphone hollow body models like the Emperor Regent and the Riviera. Nowadays, the Epiphone lineup is split into two. There are the Les Pauls and the SGs and the Firebirds, Thunderbirds, etc., that Gibson makes. And then there are the unique Epiphone models that only they make. And these really don't exist anywhere else. And they have such a unique tone and feel and voice of their own that makes them really, really special. In celebration of Epiphone's 150th birthday this year, we are doing a giveaway. Now, what exactly we're giving away, you're just going to have to wait till a little later in the video to find out. But let us know in the comments below, what is your favorite fact about Epiphone? Let us know for a chance to win. Now, you guys are eyeing all the guitars behind me. Let's check these out. Let's get the party started with the trio of double cuts. We have the Coronet, we have the Wilshire, and we have the Crestwood. This one is the Coronet. The closest analogy to this would be like a Gibson Les Paul Jr., but not quite. It's different in a few key ways. The Coronet has a smaller body overall, and it has these lovely rounded corners, so it feels really comfortable to hold and to get your arms around. It's got these nice big wide double cut horns. It lets you get right up into that upper register very, very easily. It has a simplified control layout of a volume knob and a tone knob. It's got a raging P90 and a wrap tail bridge, which is all a recipe for rock and roll as far as I'm concerned. It has a fairly chunky neck, nothing too wild, but it's definitely not on the thin side. It's just all the essentials right here. Let's see what this sounds like. Now, for those of you that are interested in the signal chain, this is the guitar going into a Universal Audio Ruby pedal. Now, this pedal is an amp simulator that models a Vox AC30. And that is just going straight out into the camera. Here we go. There are two main differences between the Wilshire here and the Coronet there. The first and most obvious difference is that the Wilshire has a neck pickup. And the second difference is the control layout is slightly changed. You have a selector switch to go between the neck and the bridge pickup, but you also have an extra set of volume and tone knobs with which you can control the timbre of the neck pickup differently from the bridge. Now let's hear what the neck pickup sounds like. And clean. Now let's check out that Crestwood. The Crestwood. This is a really cool guitar. Quite different from the other two, and I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to explain what you just heard. So the Crestwood has a vibrato system on it, and it's not really like a Bigsby or like sort of a floating bridge. It's kind of its own thing. It has this huge arm which gives you a lot of leverage, so you can really get some sweet kind of wiggles and warbles. You're not going to be dive bombing with this thing necessarily, but it just adds this really cool color to whatever you're playing. The other major difference is these pickups. These are mini humbuckers. They're not quite the same as like a Firebird pickup, although they are the same size. These are basically shrunk down full-size PAFs, and because they're shrunk down so much and have smaller components and smaller windings, they sound a lot brighter. And I don't know what it is about these particular pickups. These are probably some of the best pickups that Epiphone makes. I didn't touch my volume and tone controls in what you heard there. I was on the dirty channel on the Ruby pedal, and I controlled all the dynamics just by picking. And I switched to the bridge pickup and I switched to the neck pickup when digging in, and it just got a lot more aggressive. Nothing else. It's all in the hand. These pickups are so underrated. And, really, so is the guitar. You've got to check this one out. Now, I should say at this point that the Wilshire and the Coronet are available in both ebony and cherry, like you see there. Each one comes in both colors. The Crestwood here comes in cherry, and it also comes in the white. Links are in the description. What we have here is the Epiphone Sheraton Pro. This is the modern iteration of the classic Sheraton. Probably one of Epiphone's better known models. Now, what makes this different from a normal like ES335, I hear you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are a couple of key differences here. Number one, from a structural point of view, this has a very different neck than a 335. A 335 has a mahogany neck, whereas this has a laminate maple and walnut neck. So in a manner of speaking, similar to a Firebird neck, and the maple and walnut give it a much brighter sound than the darker, juicier sounding mahogany. Also, the second difference is the look of it. This thing is a fancy pants guitar. It has the tree inlay on the headstock. It has the really cool inlays. It has the 5-ply binding and the gold hardware. This is for people that want a more upscale looking guitar without getting into like an ES355 and paying an exorbitantly higher price. This has the Epiphone Pro Buckers, which are their version of the Gibson Burst Buckers. So it has a Pro Bucker 2 and a Pro Bucker 3 there in the bridge. Now, what puts the Pro in Sheraton Pro, I hear you say? Well, I'm glad you asked that too. The Pro refers to these. These are push-pull switches on the volume knobs, which split the coils on each of these Humbuckers. So what does splitting a coil, what does splitting a humbucker mean? Humbuckers are basically two single coils lashed together to buck the hum, so there's no noise. But say you want that really bright sound that you can't really get with a humbucker. Well, you just pull one of these and boom, you're in single coil mode, and it's a much brighter, bouncier sound, similar to the Coronet and the Wilshire that we looked at before. Now let's hear what this thing sounds like. And now I'm going to pull both coil splits so you can hear what that sounds like. Very, very useful to have if you're a studio musician looking to get a bunch of different tones out of the same guitar, or even a performing musician who, you just want a little bit of extra flavor without having to change guitars in the middle of your set. Definitely worth checking out. Here we have an absolute classic Epiphone. This is the Riviera. This is a reissue of one of their thin line jazz guitars. It's different from the Sheraton that we looked at before, most notably because of the pickups. Now, these are the mini humbuckers that we looked at on the Crestwood over there. These, again, are very, very brightly voiced humbuckers. They don't quite have the heft in the bottom end, which makes them really sort of sparkly and chimey. Very, very cool addition to a semi-hollow body guitar. Now, semi-hollow body guitar is a bit of a nebulous term, and what does that really mean? So some of the guitars that we've been looking at today are solid bodies, but some of them have these F-holes in them. And you would think that, it's got the F-holes in them, you can, see inside, they must be hollow. Not true. Some of these have a maple center block that runs from the neck all the way to the back. And the pickups and the hardware are mounted into this center block that's inside the guitar. The purpose of this is to make sure that the guitar doesn't feed back at high volumes like some other fully hollow body guitars will. The other cool thing that this guitar has that I haven't really seen on anything else other than big jazz boxes is this really cool tailpiece. This is called a Frequensator Tailpiece, not terribly common. What I hear when I play this is it's almost like having like a built-in spring reverb tank on the guitar itself. So the volume is off, and if I just play a chord and stop it, you hear sort of these overtones from there behind the bridge. It adds a really, really cool flavor to the sound, and it's definitely going to influence what you're playing as you play it. And on that note, let's hear what it sounds like. I wish I was a better jazz guitarist. I might be able to do this thing some better justice, but hopefully that conveyed to you what the Riviera is capable of. Last but certainly not least is the Epiphone Casino. This, I would argue, is Epiphone's best known model. Just think of a certain band with 4 mop-top dudes from Liverpool, and you know exactly where you've seen this thing before. Very, very cool guitar. Not as much of an oddball as it's sometimes made out to be. Let's go through exactly what this thing is. This is, in contrast to the Riviera and the Sheraton, a fully hollow body. There is no center block in this thing. It just has a top, a back, and sides. So everything here is just kind of like floating in midair. This will feed back at high volumes through any amplifier. But that's kind of the fun of it, right? If you want to make noise, if you want to, you know, just have this like wild animal in your hands when you're playing, this is so much fun to play, especially if you got some fuzz and distortion going on. It's one of life's great experiences, and I highly recommend you try it. This has P90 pickups, same as what we looked at before on those solid body double cuts. The marriage of a really brash, aggressive P90 pickup to a nice sort of warm, mellow maple body like this is a really nice balanced combination. The last thing to talk about here is the unusual neck joint on this. This joins the body at the 17th fret versus a little bit higher up compared to some of the other guitars that we looked at today. What this does is it pushes the bridge further back into the body and gives you a bit more of a smaller sort of wraparound playing experience. It's a lot more comfortable than you'd think, it being a big hollow body guitar like that. You really got to try this one out for yourself. That being said, let's see what this thing sounds like. And let's hear a little bit of clean action. The Casino is such a cool guitar, not just as an electric guitar, but also as an acoustic guitar on its own. Even with the volume down all the way or just unplugged altogether, it's a great songwriting tool when you don't have to have a huge amount of volume. But when you do plug into an amp, it is a wild ride. It is definitely an experience you want to have for yourself. This thing comes in a bunch of different finishes. We have 2 gloss finishes. We have a sunburst and we have a natural. And then in the faded matte series like this, we have the black and we have the blue and we have the olive drab. This is personally my favorite color. And speaking of which, this is the guitar that you could win in our giveaway. Just drop us a comment, let us know what your favorite fact about Epiphone guitars is, and you'll be entered into the draw to win it. Now, I should say at this point that this is open to Canadian residents only. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, everyone. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed watching because I enjoyed presenting it. Epiphone is really a brand that kind of flies under the radar. They're really known for doing like inexpensive Les Pauls and SGs, but as you can see, there's a whole lot more content here. I really recommend that you head down to your local Long McQuade and try all this stuff out for yourself. If you want to know more about any of the guitars we talked about today, the links are in the description. Be sure to enter that contest. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Like I said, it definitely helps out the channel a lot. Again, my name is Justin Waterfield. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.